Good morning and welcome to this session dedicated to industry digitalization for climate action. My name is Corinne Müller. I am with Ericsson and based in Paris. I will be the moderator of this session. We are together for 1 hour and 30 minutes to have an overview about digitalization in different industries and the role for climate action. This session is all about technologies that can drive changes fast. Globally, we have a challenge in energy consumption, the effects of CO2 pollution, and the impact on our climate. As 2030 comes closer, the need for fast, scalable change only grows. Digital technologies are among the most powerful, scalable tools that the world has to tackle climate action. This roundtable will share various cases of industry digitalization leading to a reduction in carbon emission. The main SDG that are linked to this session are SDG number 9, 12, 13, and 17. Let me now introduce our speakers. We have with us today Carol Wilson. She's VP and Industry Head, Communication, Media and Information Services for Europe and UK at Tata Consultancy Services, let's say TCS. Carol has an extensive experience in IT leadership at international level, including for Texas Instruments, Motorola, SAP, before joining the Indian powerhouse Tata Consultancy Services in 2006. Carol is based in Munich. We have also with us Nico van der Kloert. He is Corporate Communication Officer at Scania Benelux. Scania is a Swedish manufacturer of trucks and buses with global presence. Nico has experience in communicating sustainable solutions and new technology in the world of transport and logistics. He's based in Amsterdam. We have also with us Bonnie Heren. He's investor and advisor in the horticulture sector. Bonnie is also a board member of Helios Spectra LED company and co-owner of Sensis NL, a Dutch company specialized in sensor solution. Bonnie is an entrepreneur with a practical understanding of different business cultures. And we have also with us Patrick Blankers from Ericsson. He's program manager for sustainability for Europe and based in the Netherlands. In his role, he drives sustainability initiatives across the region. Prior to Ericsson, Patrick worked several years at Dutch operator KPN as a researcher and project manager. This session will be interactive, so do not hesitate to post your questions in the chat. You can even reach out to our speakers, networking, and continue the conversation with us by clicking on CSR Toolbox. Now, let's start with our first speaker. Let me introduce Patrick Blankers. I guess, Patrick, you will tell us more about 5G and the role it may have. Patrick, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Corinne, for the introduction. First of all, let me put Ericsson's business in the right perspective. I know that many people still remember Ericsson as a producer of phones, but nowadays Ericsson is a global manufacturer of mobile network equipment and services. And 40 years ago, Ericsson was at the basis of the first mobile network. We now call it 1G, but at that time it was called NMT, the Nordic Mobile Telephony. And then came GSM, also known as 2G, followed up by 3G, 4G, and now 5G. Mobile networks have been the basis for driving tremendous changes in society with a great impact on local economies and businesses. Mobile networks have enabled a lot of innovations. Just think, for example, about the usage of smartphones for social media. And for the future, we expect that mobile networks will continue to drive innovations. Innovations that will also support sustainable business and sustainable society. So for this reason, Ericsson has recently redefined its vision and mission. Our 2030 vision is now a world where limitless connectivity improves lives, redefines business, and pioneers a sustainable future. Because connectivity, if it's available anytime, anywhere, enables new solutions for the climate crisis, empowers economies and societies in a sustainable way. Now, first, let's zoom in into the Ericsson approach to sustainability. And here I mean environmental sustainability. Already 25 years ago, Ericsson started with life cycle assessments in order to understand and measure our environmental footprint across the whole value chain, from raw materials all the way up to production, including also the use phase and the end-of-life treatment. And this has given us a better insight on where to focus our efforts in reducing carbon emissions. And these 4 focus areas are shown here. So first of all, we aim to reduce our own carbon footprint. That's shown in the upper left corner. We have science-based targets for this, and we aim to be carbon neutral in our own activities by 2030. Secondly, the top right corner, we also aim to reduce carbon emissions in our supply chain. We encourage suppliers to adopt carbon reduction targets in line with the Paris Climate Agreement. Our supply chain, as you can understand, is quite complex with thousands of suppliers. But we managed to identify the suppliers with the highest carbon contribution. For example, in aluminum casting, PCB board production, chipset productions, and product transportation. So that's why we focus on these areas in the supply chain. Thirdly, we have our products in operation, our portfolio. So our products in the field, owned and often managed by operators, they consume energy day and night. The total carbon emission here represents more than 80% of the carbon emission during the whole life cycle. So it's key for us to design and develop energy efficient hardware, as well as software features that can put hardware in sleep mode when traffic is low. And by the way, we see many operators, especially in Europe, now moving to renewable energy in the network, which is of course a very good trend. We have targets to make 5G 10 times more energy efficient than 4G. That means that the energy needed to transfer a certain amount of data will be 10 times lower with 5G. So, and the fourth area, shown here at the bottom right corner, represents the impact of the ICT sector on society. And this corresponds mostly to the theme of this session. So digitalization supports the transformation of business processes, leading to a higher efficiency and very often also a lower carbon emission. Electronic communication reduces the need for traveling or for physical transportation, and in this way it can save emissions. Ericsson is one of the founding members of the Exponential Roadmap initiative, together with several other companies from different sectors, as well as NGOs and academia. The Exponential Roadmap initiative aims to promote and stimulate the ICT sector as a contributor to solving the climate challenge. The ICT sector itself is responsible for about 1.4% of global carbon emissions. But through innovations driven by digitalization in many different other industries, there is a potential to reduce carbon emission by 15%, with 50% by 2030. Like, for example, in the energy sector, in transportation and logistics, in agriculture, and in manufacturing, Industry 4.0. So this means that there is a leveraging effect of the ICT sector of a factor of 10. So if you want to know more about the Exponential Roadmap, you can find a report on exponentialroadmap.org. And also important to mention that Exponential Roadmap has also generated new initiatives like the 1.5 degree supply chain leaders and the SME Climate Hub. I will now give a couple of examples about digitalization and climate action. So I already mentioned 5G, which is now the core of Ericsson's business. So what makes 5G different than 4G? So why is 5G more attractive for industries? Well, 5G has a couple of characteristics that makes it an interesting platform for innovation. Of course, it's faster than 4G, which means a higher capacity to transfer higher bit rates. But 5G has also a much lower latency, so a much lower end-to-end delay. And that makes it possible to control a vehicle, a machine, or a robot remotely from any location. The low latency also makes it possible to separate the robot from the software processing, leading to cloud robotics. And another aspect of 5G is that it supports massive IoT, Internet of Things, with thousands of sensors per square kilometer, which would enable, for example, agriculture with precision, because then in those cases, a lot of sensors are needed. Please bear in mind that 5G already exists today. So this year, Ericsson forecasts more than 500 million 5G subscribers on a global level, and that will grow to 3.5 billion 5G subscribers in 2026. One of the first industry applications of 5G where Ericsson was involved was a project with Fraunhofer and MTU, industry partner that produces blisks, that are metal components for the airline industry. And those components need to be produced with very high precision. So the use of sensors increases the accuracy drastically, but the sensors would need to be connected in a wireless manner because they move around. And the very low latency of 5G was the perfect solution in this case. So because real-time in metal manufacturing means that you need end-to-end delays of less than 1 millisecond. So this was a typical case of Industry 4.0 supported by 5G. Of course, Ericsson is a manufacturer too. We also have production facilities, and we use 5G-enabled applications also in our own factories. For example, to enable automated guided vehicles and augmented reality. We recently opened a new factory for 5G products in the USA, which is one of the most sustainable factories of its kind. It also was awarded by the World Economic Forum as a sustainability lighthouse, serving as a leading example of Industry 4.0 manufacturing. But we are also involved in other industry applications. For example, in Germany, we have equipped a car factory of Mercedes with 5G coverage. And in the Netherlands, we also apply 5G, for example, for preventive maintenance in factories. In another sector, logistics and automotive, for example, we have several partnerships. A good example is the collaboration with Einride and Schenker Logistics. Einride is a manufacturer of driverless trucks, and these trucks can drive autonomously, but in some cases, you need to take control of the truck, for example, when the traffic situation is going to be complicated. And when you want to have remote control of the truck, you definitely need 5G because you need high capacity and low latency. And another example is the port of Livorno. Ericsson partnered here with the port authorities and Telecom Italia in order to develop 5G applications in the port area. Also here, we use automated guided vehicles enabled by 5G and container tracking. And because of the increased efficiency in the port logistics, carbon savings of more than 60% were reached, as well as significant annual cost savings. And this project, by the way, won the Industry Energy Efficiency Award during Hannover Messe 2020. Yeah, so there are these are just 4 examples, but we have many more examples which can also be found on our website, Ericsson.com. Also on Ericsson.com, you will be able to find our new campaign, Imagine Possible. And in this case, I try to scroll to the next slides. Yeah, in this case, Imagine Possible. Imagine climate action with exponential impact. With technology and global collaboration, it is possible. But please bear in mind that Ericsson cannot do this alone. So we invite other companies to partner with us and to help accelerate the digital transformation for a sustainable future. I will stop here and I welcome any questions on this topic. I give the floor back to you, Corinne.
Thank you, Patrick. Now let's see with Nico van der Gloert the view of Scania and some concrete examples about transport digitalization and its positive impact. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Corinne, and thank you for inviting. It's, of course, a challenging platform. And industrial digitalization for climate action. Let's start with the climate action part. Just like Ericsson some years ago, Scania Group joined the Science Based Target Initiative to set sustainability and climate goals to contribute to the Paris Climate Agreement. As you know, this aims to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial level. And this science-based target scientifically judge all the goals and climate actions that we have put in our strategic goals. So that means that both our own operational activities and all the emissions of our products and services have to comply with these targets. So no free obligation here. Then we make the step to the industrial digitalization part. You mentioned it, Scania is a worldwide operating manufacturer of heavy trucks, buses, and industrial and marine engines. And we produce them, we sell them, and we service them. And over the past years, digitalization has increasingly grown to make the products more efficient and sustainable. So we have many activities related to the subject of this roundtable, but I would like to zoom in on one particular activity, and that is connected vehicles. And I have one slide prepared for you. Patrick, if it's possible to put it on screen. Yes, thank you. So ever since 2011, every new truck and bus that we deliver is equipped with a communicator built in. And this is a sort of black box communicating with our big data servers and deliver valuable data for us as a supplier, but also for the operator, the owner of the truck. And in the second quarter of this year, we passed the milestone of more than 500,000 connected trucks, buses, and coaches over the world. And the picture that you see here shows the heat map of Scania's connectivity journey. Every morning, and wherever that morning on the globe may be, when the truck is starting the engine, it makes contact with our servers to check in. And here you see where all those trucks are located. The brighter the color, the more condensed the trucks are populated. And data gathered from such a large vehicle population, of course, provides valuable insight into customer behavior and enables analysis of our products in real daily operation. And that is crucial for us as a supplier to deliver sustainable transport solutions. Not in the least because we can tailor-make our service offerings to the customer, helping them to reduce their carbon emissions. We can also monitor the vehicles based on engine or fuel categories. And in this way, we not only follow up our own science-based targets, but we can also help our customers to follow up their climate targets. Okay, and how is this done in daily operation? How is this related to climate action? And then some small examples of connected vehicles in daily practice. Yeah, thank you very much. And one of the examples is driver coaching. Like I said, the vehicle delivers real-time performance information that gives valuable insights also how the driver is performing. Our experience in driver training shows that fuel consumption of an average truck can be improved substantially when the driver has the right skills in efficient driver. And our driver coaches make contact with the drivers in their trucks and coach them into the right driving skills. Both the driver as well as the owner can follow this in real practice. And occasionally, fuel consumption can be improved by more than 10%. And keep in mind, every drop of fuel that is not consumed is also not emitted as CO2. Another example is maintenance of trucks. We have, for example, no more fixed service intervals at 30, 60, or 90,000 kilometers. The truck directly communicates with our service workshop and indicates not only when it needs service, but also exactly what kind of service. And based upon that information, a tailor-made service appointment is scheduled. Not only convenient for the operator, but also good for the footprint of the truck, because a well-maintained truck performs better with lower fuel consumption and lower emission. One of our newer applications from connected vehicles is Scania Zone. And this is used in relation to plug-in hybrid trucks. They have a traditional combustion engine combined with an electric powertrain. So on the highway, the truck can drive sustainable, for example, with biofuels to reduce carbon emission. And when they enter an inner city or even a zero emission zone, it can switch to full electric driving, completely zero emission. And Scania Zone, that is a geofencing tool on the connected vehicle that automatically switches to electric driving when you enter a preset city border or zero emission zone. So not only convenient for the driver, because there's no driver activation needed. And when you leave the preset border, the truck switches to the traditional engine again automatically. Some examples of connected vehicles in daily operation. When we look a little into the future, Patrick also mentioned it, we see interesting possibilities for autonomous trucks and buses. And they can operate different levels of autonomy up to completely driverless trucks. We have several tests ongoing worldwide on truck platooning, for example, to explore the technical possibilities in terms of safety and sustainability. Truck platooning means that a couple of trucks driving in a tight row are digitally connected to each other. And truck number one in the row controls speed and braking, and all following trucks, they really follow real time. When truck number one hit the brake, all the following truck hit the brake at exactly the same time. So no delay in that. And the distance between the trucks can be as low as a couple of meters. And driving so closely means that air drag is ultimately low, resulting in very low fuel consumption and very low emissions. And for example, fuel consumption can drop with about 30%. That is quite huge. And of course, the other advantages of truck platooning are increased safety because of harmonized speed and less traffic congestion. So just some examples how connected vehicles can contribute to our and our customers' sustainable goals. New services and new applications will become available in the coming years to enhance the performance even further. And we are now entering, for example, a new phase where electric powertrains become more and more available, replacing the traditional combustion engines. And this opens new connectivity possibilities, for example, in relation to charging infrastructure. These developments just never stop. As you can imagine this kind of connectivity require high volume, robust and stable connections. Those 500,000 connected vehicles produce a lot of data every single day. And when, for example, ADAS, advanced driver assisting systems, are involved, you're not only talking about efficient and sustainable driving, but also about road safety and flow improvement. But nevertheless, with Scania, we are convinced that connected vehicles play an important role in our sustainability portfolio and our science-based targets. And that's why we keep developing them. And new technology, like Patrick mentioned, 5G and beyond. And other examples are intelligent traffic systems will even open up new applications that are not yet completely possible yet. But like I said, we keep developing them, and the future might be nearer than you think. Just some examples from Scania perspective. If there are questions, I'm very pleased to answer them. I hand back to you, Corinne.
Thank you, Nico. It's amazing, 30% less fuel consumption, I think. Thank you for those examples. Our next speaker is Carol Wilson. What's your vision, Carol, about our theme, industry digitalization, and the way to act concretely for climate? As a reminder, you are working for TCS, a global leader in IT services.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Corinne. Very nice to have the opportunity to participate in this panel. I think many of you may have the question, what is TCS doing, speaking on a panel for digitalization and sustainability? How to draw the link between the two and how to really give you a bit of a vision as to why TCS finds this topic very important for us. So we're part of the Tata Group, and as you're aware, the Tata Group has a 150-year history and many different industries and companies that make up this group who really have a long commitment to sustainability over the history of the group's existence. If we look at TCS, which is really the jewel in the crown of the Tata Group environment, we're a little over 50 years old, and we have over 500,000 employees that today are deployed across all of our client communities around the globe, supporting the drive and the development of their digital journeys. Yeah, as TCS, we one of the largest or top 3 information technology providers in the world, we feel a need to step out on the front foot, not only in leading digital journeys and digital initiatives with our clients today, but specifically to focus on digital journeys that help drive the sustainability initiatives forward. So as a leading employer and one of the largest creators of skilled jobs around the world, it is very necessary for us to take a leading position in this particular area. So if we think about what it is we do, we actually have 3 dimensions that represent our willingness and our need to be on a council like this today and our need to be participating in overall sustainability initiatives. The first dimension is really all about what we do. So TCS, as a information technology provider, we assist clients in defining and building their digital visions, but also in helping them deploy, deliver, and support those digital visions going forward. That can be anything from the migration of a traditional high energy consumption data center environment onto a multi-cloud or a hybrid cloud environment that not only reduces energy consumptions and modernizes the landscape for the future, but also gives faster and seamless access to all of the data that the various applications within this particular environment or data center produces. We also help clients build those wow experiences with their own end customers by leveraging various channel capabilities to ensure that clients are connected, that clients have access to the data that's needed, and that the experience that the client has with that online channel into his online business is functioning and really providing an excellent experience. Thirdly, we focus very, very heavily on cognitive and data sciences. All of the devices that both Nico and Patrick spoke about this morning and that we know are very much a part of how sustainability is driving digital initiatives today, all of those devices are producing massive amounts of data. And we have to be able to ensure that that data is manageable, that we're able to absorb and detail the data in such a way that we can pull useful information and in some cases monetize that information for the market. Nextly, we are very deeply involved in the engineering of new products and services that help clients create new revenue streams and actually drive growth and transformation across their business initiatives. Most importantly for us, and particularly in the need to achieve full digitalization and full sustainability activities, is the ability to drive connectivity modernization. The ability to ensure that business process flows seamlessly, quickly, and with a high quality environment across all forms of network landscapes. Technology enables, obviously, digitalization. Yeah, it's quite key for us that there's hundreds of isolated solutions today which contribute to digitalization and consequently sustainability. But connectivity also provides the glue that enables an ecosystem to establish itself. What we're very sure about is that the sustainability initiatives today supported through digitalization are really riding on leading edge technologies, on technologies that are very much in their infancy today. And this requires really the best of breed approach towards pulling in experts, pulling in specific vertical expertise around different industry capabilities or different technology capabilities so that that expertise can be woven into a carpet of success for sustainability or digitalization initiatives. And this requires a very open view towards leveraging ecosystems to bring in partners, suppliers, academia, experts in the field that can all be woven into the carpet that is utilized to produce a specific solution or a multitude of solutions that either support digitalization or indirectly supporting sustainability. This ecosystem for us is a hugely important concept because we believe that no company is able to achieve digitalization or sustainability initiatives on their own. For this purpose, in May of 21, we've launched a European Passport. And the Passport is a phygital environment, right? A physical environment where our clients can come together and really achieve co-innovation, co-creation, and new product development at scale. It's an environment that gives very clear access to the 5G as the foundation, as well as solutions that have been built upon that 5G to help spark thinking in the direction of how to leverage 5G for the purposes of digitalization, but more specifically for the purposes of leveraging IoT or extended reality, or indeed all of the technologies that are needed to make our environments smart and more effective in terms of sustainability. So the Passport for us, based in Amsterdam today, is very similar to the Passports which we have launched in Tokyo and New York. And it's a phenomenal space for coming together, for leveraging ecosystems, for creating ideas that are generated out of cross-industry, cross-academia, and cross-company involvements. And it gives really a leg up in being able to jump onto the digitalization and the sustainability bandwagon. It's the real deal, right? Real life examples of digital initiatives on 5G. And it helps industry participants better harness these infancy technologies for digitalization and ultimately sustainability. So if we think about the importance of building ecosystems today and looking at how these ecosystems help us achieve our digital initiatives, I mean, TCS sees these ecosystems developing along 4 different horizons. The first is about building sustainable businesses. The second is about creating circular and sustainable value chains for those businesses. The third horizon is all about linking ecosystems together to create sustainable living. And last but not least, focusing on regenerative economics. And across these phases, there are 6 basic levers that have to be addressed to ensure that the full scope of sustainability initiatives are really viewed within those various phases of ecosystem. The first is addressing naturally climate change, the bigger driver for all of our activities in sustainability, ensuring that we have circular value chains in place, making sure that we have diversity in our workforces, and that we have social impact and so on. We work with clients across these horizons, and there are many direct and indirect examples of how sustainability is supported through our pulling together of effective ecosystems and initiatives for our clients today. A very good direct example that we have is in a water management system which we have implemented for a large UK water utility. I mean, basically, this utility company has faced a lot of challenges with what's called big water events. Water events that have impacted their operations, such as dealing with large freezes or sudden thawings of freezes, flow issues, broken mains, as an example. TCS has developed a GIS-based system which enables this water utility to visualize events as they're occurring and to manage events, which pulls together then operational maps, customer information, flow information, and operational data that's collected from a large real-time network of sensors such as pressure point measures and flow monitors. So coupled with analytics then, this utility is able to simulate and visualize the impact of a water event on a particular community and to take early action in being able to manage that event, but most importantly, early action in being able to inform their client and prepare their customers, their end customer community, for the impact of such an event. So that's a very direct example of where water management is improved, the loss of water or potable water through obvious leakage or unplanned events is then somehow contained. Another direct example of sustainability contribution through digital initiatives that TCS is involved in today is a very extensive and large catalog of solutions that support smart city environments. If you think about it, we have solutions today from the simplest of smart city applications such as parking management through to the most complex of those applications, which is in a visualization of intent. And this is a pilot environment that we have up and running today where we use video interpretation of movements of individuals on trains in order to determine what is the intent of a sudden movement when somebody moves their arm quickly to either pat somebody on the back, or is that perhaps an attack or an attempted attack? And this ability to derive intent from sudden movements of people on trains gives us the ability then to early inform security forces either on the train or in the station to alert that action is taken to prevent any sort of serious interaction, or at least to apprehend and investigate the situation at hand. So we have the simplest to the most complex of solutions that are available in catalogs of smart cities. We have also very clear case points, particularly in Dubai, where we've had one of the longest standing smart city environments to date. A very interesting challenge, I think, for the overall sustainability, because many of these individual solutions for smart cities are driven or built for very specific industries at hand, such as the early example, which I gave of water management systems for a UK utility. But the need to integrate and link all of these solutions into an umbrella of really building a smart municipal environment is the challenge today, because there's a lack of funding and potentially also a lack of broader interest in being able to pull this information together. So an indirect example of TCS contributions towards sustainability is in our digital fleet solutions, which today drives a 20% efficiency in fleet utilization through ensuring that routes are optimized, that loads are optimized, so that the actual tire print or footprint on the street is reduced, which obviously contributes to emission reduction and gives also a much more advantageous environment through preventive maintenance and elimination of outage. So the second axis of why TCS is deeply interested in this topic is our role of being really the leading provider of skilled jobs globally. And it's clear that we must step up to this role and set a strong global example, as well as making our mark on digital progress. So the initiatives we choose align with most of the UN SDG goals, but some of the important things we do are the following. We have a really proactive stance on climate change, and we work with communities across the world. And it's earned us a place in leading indices such as the MSCI Global Sustainability Index and the FTSE Fear Good Emerging Index. All TCS centers globally continue to be certified under the ISO 14001 Environmental Management Standard. We have a huge focus on carbon footprint reduction. We use our own solutions for energy efficiency, the usage of renewable energy, water management through rainwater harvesting across all of our facilities in India, recycling and waste management solutions. We have centralized IoT-based remote energy management systems across our TCS campuses in India, and the majority of our large facilities have rooftop solar power plants within the campuses themselves. We work with communities across the world, and we pursue our longstanding commitment to programs in the areas of health, STEM education, skill development, and the bridging of what we call the digital divide. We focus on influencing and enabling the future generation with digital skills. And as I mentioned, we're one of the largest creator of skills jobs globally. And we encourage students to build STEM skills and to pursue STEM educations and careers. And it's critical for us to do our part in enabling that movement. And therefore, we're committed to imparting digital skills and capabilities to at least 5 million youths by the year 2025. Phenomenal initiative that we have well underway today in all of the countries where TCS is operating. And the third dimension that I represent in this discussion today is the role that I have as the head of the UK and European arm of a large business division that's dedicated to the support of the ICT industry. We have 36,000 employees that serve CSPs and new age telcos and various parts of the ICT supply chain. I think you know that ICT accounts for 3 to 4% of the global CO2 emissions today. That's twice that of civil aviation, and that comes through heavy energy usage to operate and maintain large macro cells. And as we've heard from Patrick this morning, ICT is at the front line of digitization, with exponential penetration across multiple industries, leveraging enabling technologies like AI, IoT, extended reality, XR, and 5G. 5G is making a massive impact to the overall efficiencies of ICT today. That impact is coming through innovative base station technology, where smaller cells and new forms of radio access networks are being leveraged. There's a sharing of network infrastructure today, a virtualization of networks, a reliance on software rather than hardware to drive network capacity. Telefonica and Nokia both have proven that 5G can be up to 90% more energy efficient per traffic unit than its predecessors, which is really a massive contribution to reducing this negative footprint that the ICT industry has established today. TCS assists telcos in many aspects of 5G connectivity, from architecture support through to 5G testing. We have cognitive network operations services as well as field services. What we provide are product agnostic services today that enables a kind of a best of breed approach to moving beyond connectivity. As you know, 5G is very often a greenfield investment for all of our ICT providers today. And that's a silver lining for sustainability, because it provides a clear and immediate need for CSPs to focus on monetizing and being able to recover the cost of that 5G investment. So that's a real sweet spot for TCS, and it's a sweet spot for sustainability, as many of those opportunities today to monetize that investment are directly related to the ability to achieve sustainability goals. Here we find the cross point between sustainability and digitalization, as we are able to build all kinds of IoT platform services, smart city offerings, smart factories, smart agricultural offerings, all of which CSPs are looking to offer and provide to their customer community to help drive both digitalization as well as movement towards sustainability. Whether it's waste management, energy management, water management, security, health and well-being management, TCS has a clear role to play in helping to architect as well as build, deploy, and support these solutions today. So we have a very multifaceted role to play across these three dimensions of TCS as a service provider, or as a main cog in the digitalization of our environment. TCS as a old, deep standing environment as a company that is very committed to sustainability initiatives, and TCS, Communications, Media and Information Services Division, as a supporter of CSPs in their journey towards digitization, which very often includes providing platforms and services for the support of sustainability initiatives going forward. So that's a little bit around Tata Consultancy Services and the vision that they have in the direction of sustainability, and be very open to answer any questions around specific initiatives in smart agriculture, smart factory, or smart cities, or anything along those lines when we get to the QA section this morning. Back to you, Corinne.
Thank you very much, Carol. I think we have seen with you the power of ICT for climate action, really, and especially with the development of the ecosystem, I think. Thank you again. Now, let's take the point of view of Bonnie Ehren and get some insights from the horticulture sector and its digitalization. You are investor as Sensi NL, a technology company that produces smart wireless sensors specifically for the agriculture and horticulture sector. So the floor is yours, Bonnie.
Thank you very much, Corinne. Hello, good morning, everybody. So my name is Bonnie Ehren, and I'll explain you in the next 10 minutes the crucial role of digitalization as the next step to make the horticulture industry more sustainable. And it's really crucial because we face big challenges in the worldwide food production. And be aware that we have to produce more food in the next 30 years than we did in the last 10,000 years. Think about that for a moment. So the amount of food is growing very fast as the world population is increasing from 7 billion now to 10 billion in 2050. And in the meantime, there's also a demand for healthy, vitamin-rich food like vegetables. So taking those two developments into account, knowing that resources as water and fertilizers are becoming less available, and of course the urgent call to action to reduce the net emission of CO2, we have really a big challenge in front of us. So when we talk about the greenhouse industry and climate action, it's good to speak about the net emission of CO2. Because on one hand, plants are eating CO2, and on the other hand, vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, produced in a greenhouse or in a closed environment, need heat and electricity to grow. Heat because vegetables like tomatoes are not grown in their natural habitat, and they need a minimum temperature of 18 degrees. Electricity, as a lot of greenhouses are now equipped with artificial light to fulfill the demand of the fresh vegetables in periods with low light levels like in the winter. So looking at the industry, before I explain the role of digitalization, I will talk about the process already made by our industry and to improve the sustainable growing practices. This will give you a much better insight in how we can use digitalization without the pesticides, for example, and produce without water and energy, and the energy footprint reducing. So, however, these innovations focused mainly on the greenhouse construction itself. So, for example, one of the big innovations is the closed greenhouse concept. And in this concept, the objective is to operate longer with closed windows by reducing the humidity with dehumidifiers. Closing the windows means resulting longer period with higher CO2 levels in the greenhouse, resulting in a better photosynthesis process, and that will result in more yield per square meter. So in a greenhouse, normally the standard level of CO2 is 3 times higher than in the outside air. And it's all related with the photosynthesis formula. That is one of the most important processes for us human beings on Earth. CO2 with water on the influence of light will give you sugar, energy, and oxygen. Other innovations of the last years have been focusing on increasing the natural light levels in the greenhouse. And here, the design of a greenhouse, the lighter but stronger materials in combination with extra clear glass, with anti-reflecting coatings have given a huge increase in yield in the greenhouse simply by getting more light into the crop. Yeah, and this makes sense because 1% more light is 1% more production with almost the same resources. So all these innovations have resulted in a significant increase of yield per square meter with less input of resources and supporting the motto of the industry to do more with less. To give you an example about the steps we have made in a high-tech Dutch greenhouse, and then you speak about an 8-meter high greenhouse with diffuse extra clear glass, artificial light, climate screens, and stone wool substrate with circulation of the water, and of course the fertilizer, extra dosing of CO2, we can produce more than 100 kilo per square meter of tomato. And with this 100 kilos, we only need 4-liter water per kilo. When you compare this with a mid-tech greenhouse in Spain, there we produce 35 kilos per square meter, and we will use 80 liters per kilo. So 100 compared with 35, 4 liter compared with 80 liters. So these figures show that big steps have been made moving from mid to high tech and can be made. Of course, sometimes we have to adjust for the local climate conditions. However, with the present technology, the greenhouse construction is almost fully optimized, and further improvements are economic, not really viable. I give you an example again for the glass. Today we can reach levels of 98% of transmission, and the last 1 or 2% become really very expensive in relation with the extra yield they will give. And here is where digitalization will kick in. Digitalization will play an important, very important role to realize the next step of making our food production more sustainable. And by using data from sensors, by 5G technology, in combination with AI models, which understands the critical process in the greenhouse, and in plants, we can fully automate a tomato crop year-round in the future. And this is what we call autonomous growing. And although we are just starting, it really, really works. The proof was given by the University of Wageningen in 2020, last year, where there was an autonomous growing challenge, models based on AI with sensor data outperformed a team of top growers from the Netherlands regarding yield, energy efficiency, and water use. So again, it's all about how to control the plant during a full crop cycle to produce the right quality and quantity with less input of energy, water, and fertilizer. And this looks simple, but it is absolutely not simple, because all the processes and all the balances in a greenhouse are related to each other. It's in fact one holistic system. Optimizing one factor like energy can have a very negative impact on the example, for example, the climate, which can increase disease pressures, resulting again in lower quality or quantity. So for the last 6 years, there have been a lot of studies performed on the 3 most important balances in a greenhouse. And these 3 balances are the assimilation balance, the energy balance, and the water balance. And they are all written down in a concept called plant empowerment principles. And they are now used by the AI growing modules and software to support autonomous growing. So in fact, in a greenhouse, you control the crop by managing these balances and by playing with the stress levels of the plant. And you can do that with different actions. So take, for example, the water level in the root zone as an example. You can steer a plant by lowering the water content in the night with a certain percentage in the root zone. So at that moment, the plant experiences that it has no water and it will think it will die. And what organism is doing, it will be reproducing itself. So it will start sending energy, which means sugars, to the fruit, in this case, a tomato. And this gives you very, very nice, tasty tomatoes. And this we call generative actions. And when a plant doesn't experience any stress and has enough water, life is okay. And then it will be not interested in the fruit, and it will grow leaves to stimulate the photosynthesis. This is what we call the vegetative actions. Now, it's the grower's job to choose on a daily basis between those different generative and vegetative actions to steer the plant in a certain directions. So when we talk about autonomous growing, those same daily or sometimes weekly decisions will be made in the near future, not anymore by the grower, but by an algorithm. And the difference is that the algorithm will make continuously the adjustments instead of daily or weekly done by the grower. And this model will base its decisions on input on data from sensors, data from the climate computer, weather forecast, and other data coming from external, like water analysis, market prices for tomatoes, and the energy prices, or even the availability of energy. So the expectation is that these algorithms will improve over time as more data and results of the adjustments are known. So we get self-learning software, in fact, and software which can also forecast. And instead of reacting afterwards on what the grower sees in the greenhouse, the model will be able to adjust conditions upfront to prevent negative situations. So the basis of autonomous growing is data, and data coming from sensors. So now we recognize 2 types of sensors in our industry. We have the sensors measuring the different conditions in the greenhouse, like temperature, humidity, CO2 levels, the water content, fertilizers in the substrate, for example, light transmissions above, but also in the greenhouse. And we have the sensor category measuring the different parameters of the plant, like cameras looking at the leaf color, the leaf size, sensors measuring the stem thickness, photosynthesis sensors based on LED lights, substream measurements to identify the water pressure in the plant as a result of evaporation. And more sensors are coming into development to collect even more data for better insights. So this means that not only new sensors are introduced in our industry at the moment, but also sensors, the sensor density in the greenhouse is increasing. Well, and this brings again new challenges because most of the sensors at the moment are wired. And with the increase of sensor density, and this is done because to get a more reliable overview of the conditions in the greenhouse, the wireless communication becomes a must. And here we see a very big role for 5G technology. For the different sensors I mentioned before, the different functionality of 5G is applicable. So when you are depending, for example, on data from sensors for your irrigation system, reliability is key for the connection. And imagine that if you don't give water on the hottest day of the year, then in 3 hours, your whole crop will be dead. For cameras to scout the plants, the benefit is, for example, a critical factor to move from wired to wireless. Other sensors benefit from the energy use in combination with the battery lifetime. A tomato crop only takes 10 months, but you don't want to change the battery in between. So you want to change for the crop change. And the 5G technology brings all these solutions together. But there are also other digital technologies into the industry coming. So at the moment, we see a lot of harvesting robots and de-leaf robots being introduced. They will be controlled via the cloud and work next to the greenhouse workers, meaning also that the robot must shut down within a millisecond when there is an unintended interaction with the worker. Now, well, the 5G technology can provide the necessary needed ultra-low latency in this case to guarantee the safety of the workers. And there are much more stories to tell about digitalization in the high-tech greenhouse industry. For example, like how we can save energy and increase production, growing with low energy LED light, with smart controllable light spectrum. So we have feedback sensors on the plant and they will communicate with the LED lights, indicating how much and when and which spectrum we have to give to the plant. So what I'd like for you to take away from my short presentation is that growing vegetables is a high-tech activity and the move to more high-tech greenhouses is a must. And to secure the feeding of the growing population with fresh vegetables. And it's very clear we need digitalization to make another step in making the growing process more sustainable. Autonomous growing based on data and AI has proven to outperform the human being and the green fingers of the grower, so to say. So collecting data is crucial. 5G technology can help introducing new sensors, increasing the sensor density and support robots in the greenhouse. But autonomous growing will also solve the problem of the lack of high-tech growers we experience at the moment. And we need them to move from mid to high-tech, especially in those regions like Africa and Asia, where the majority growth of the population will take place in the coming 30 years. So thanks for the attention, and I'm looking forward to the Q&A session.
Thank you, Bonnie, and it was amazing about autonomous growing and also about energy consumption in this domain. Now it's time for our interaction. We have 25 minutes for Q&A with our speakers, so please reach out to us and use the chat for that. But before starting with the chat, let's go for a first question to our speakers. What do you regard as major roadblocks for digital transformation to build a sustainable future? Who wants to start on that?
If I may start, Corinne, I would not talk about a major roadblock, but more as a challenge that's approaching us. Since both production and products become more and more digital, we need a different kind of people, of staff, to take care of them. High tech is key. Bonnie mentioned it. High tech has becoming more and more the standard, and we have a challenge recruiting the right people to take care of that challenge. We've seen migration from the real technical guy to a high-tech guy being able to take care of those challenges. And like I said, it's not a real roadblock, but it's a concern, and we have adapted our recruiting strategy to adapt to this challenge, and it's really something, a high topic within Scania.
Thank you. Any other reaction from the other people? Yes, go on.
I'd love to give a reaction to that, if I may. I agree very much with the previous comment. There are multiple challenges. Yeah, the first is, in my opinion, making sure that there is a business strategy towards digitization, that it's not technology for technology's sake, but indeed looking at a path towards digitalization that basically supports and upholds the business goals. The second major challenge is being able to build that ecosystem that's necessary to achieve those goals, because again, no company can do it on their own. No company has the experience or the foundational base or the ability to leverage the technologies to make that happen. So it's very, very key that the best of the best are brought together in order to really drive that strategy. Thirdly, as Nico just said, the skill gap and the war for talent at the moment is mind-boggling, right? It's very, very difficult to bring your employees with you on that digital transformation journey. And how do you do that? How are you able to focus on imparting the skills that are necessary for people to become digital, to be able to develop and deliver digital solutions? More importantly, retain them. Yeah, once they get those skills, they obviously become much more valuable on the market. And it's a tremendous challenge to be able to hang on to the good talent for the benefit of your own environment. And last but not least, I think that there's sometimes a reluctance to have a constant metronome over the success of digitalization to ensure that the appropriate measures and KPIs are in place, so that one is able to take very early course corrections to stop investments in one area and forge up or move investments up in another area as you discover one particular initiative is not achieving the goals that the organization originally had in mind. And I think that takes a real brave and confident organization to be able to stare their digitalization initiatives in the face and to change and course correct and take action to ensure that they're able to achieve a very constant and regular success with their movement along the digital journey strategy.
Thank you very much. Bonnie, a reaction on your side?
Yeah, two in fact. First on Carol, I can add that when you look at the horticulture industry and the progress we already made, as I explained in my presentation, one of the key reasons for success is the triple helix. The triple helix is the cooperation between the government on one side, the industry, and the universities. And when you look at the ecosystem in the Netherlands, for horticulture, we have this unique knowledge at the University of Wageningen, but the government has really recognized the importance of food production and the position of the Netherlands in the world. And of course, the growers are so entrepreneurial in as I see them. It's I think, and that working together will bring a lot of new innovations very quickly. On the other hand, that is the standard, let's say, or the normal innovation. Now we come into this digital area. I think one of the main roadblocks in our industry for horticulture is that the mindset of the mostly older growers is in that way that they cannot believe that 40 years of experience in a greenhouse can be, let's say, beat by a young guy just coming from university, located in Canada, never been in a greenhouse, and creating an AI model based on data, and they outperform him. That is that can still be a hurdle to take by really implementing the digital transformation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and how to find a way to take the knowledge and expertise and domain knowledge that the historic farm and to be able to shore up the knowledge of your young digital ninjas who are driving horticulture in a glass, so to speak, right? I think that pulling that together is really a tremendous challenge for you. I can imagine that. Yeah. But of course, the Netherlands is, in my opinion, it's like owls in Athens, right? You're right at the forefront of all of the digital initiatives with regards to horticulture. I think you couldn't be in a better place, to be setting the trends for the market in this particular area.
Correct, but also as we are still the front runner in all innovation in horticulture, you see other countries now moving fast, and with digital that flies faster than other innovations. So also here we have to stay ahead. We want to be leading. Correct.
Yeah, and listening to you, I think what is also important is the development of the ecosystem. So how can we accelerate on that, according to you? How can is it something in the hands of the government, of the private sector? Who's in charge, according to you?
Well, again, the triple helix is working fine in this area for horticulture. But you always have to have, I think it begins with the entrepreneurial spirit in the industry. And you really need them. Again, look at the tomato grower. It takes you 1 year for a full crop to grow, and you need to experience in all periods of the year how the new digital solution is behaving. And that means also a lot of trials. And there are a lot of people saying that they want to do an innovation. And in fact, they always say, I want to be in the first wagon of the train, but then they want to be in the back seat of this first wagon. And we are looking for the people who really want to be in the front seat and take the wheel and drive in a certain direction. And that can be wrong, but that is also innovation. And then I think the government or subsidizing programs should be there to compensate the entrepreneurs who was taking a risk. So that's.
Yeah, I agree also that it's important to build ecosystems. But I think that the challenge is also that different partners also speak different languages. I mean, as Ericsson, we are expert in 5G, but we are not an expert in agriculture or in transportation. So when you bring parties together, it also requires a learning curve. Yeah, there needs to be also patience, because in order to get in depth and to innovate together, coming from different angles.
Yeah. I think, Patrick, that's one of the roles that TCS likes to see themselves in, is playing that very foundational definition of systems integrator, in the sense that we can help normalize the languages from one partner to another as we work to bring together the best of breed or various components of the ecosystem together. Because again, as we said earlier, and I think many people have mentioned it, no one can do it alone, and yet partners are sought that are much more than passengers on the train, partners who are willing to invest and partners who are willing to take a risk or carry a certain part of the responsibility for the achievement of the ecosystem goals. So finding integrators that can help normalize that language, I think, is really one of the main keys to success in leveraging and using an ecosystem. Any
reaction on Scania's side about the ecosystem, Nico?
We fully agree. Like Carol said, it's not technology for technology's sake, and that's also about sustainability. In the end, it's the end customer, in our case, the transport company, that's dealing with the business case, with TCO. It has to bring money, and sustainable solutions that only cost money, that's not working. So we need the full ecosystem, not only us as supplier and the transport company as a customer, but also the customer of the customer needs to be involved. And also authorities, local authorities, but also national and even the EU, and also energy suppliers in our case. So the ecosystem is growing, is really developing. but that needs to be managed. Also, like Carol said, we need a moderator in that case that takes care of that role. And that can be a challenge every now and then.
Yeah. A question perhaps to Patrick now. Will Industry 4.0 depend on public 5G or private network, Patrick? Do you have the answer?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so indeed, I spoke about application of 5G in industries, and there are different ways how to implement that. I mean, as an industry, of course, you can decide to build your own 5G network in the facilities or in the premises with a private license, with private equipment. So that is one option. But the other option is that you fully rely on the services of a mobile operator, for example. So then you have no need to acquire a private license because you fully rely on the network of the mobile operator, and through VPN and cloud services, you will still have the possibilities to have your own to perceive your own network. So those are two extremes, and there can be anything in between. So actually, there are many different options, from public to private and anything in between.
Right. Another question for Carol. We've seen we are living, in a smart world with smart TV, smart cars, smart refrigerators, and also smart technology for industries. What is your view about smart city? When will this happen, according to you, Carol?
Yeah. So it's a dilemma in my view. There are so many opportunities today to implement and drive smart initiatives across a municipal or community environment. From, as I mentioned earlier, from very, very simple types of examples that, potentially are hardly worth it, to very, very complex types of technologies that can really enable the health and well-being and health and safety of citizens. I think the biggest dilemma is how to integrate all of that, how to bring it together. I mean, who ultimately is the host and the controller of smart city initiatives? If you have a parking garage, which is privately owned, then the parking management system, which can be an IoT-based security and parking availability type of system. It can also change the rate of parking costs depending upon what's going on in the environment or specific time of day, things along those lines. So you can make parking very, very intelligent and very safe for people to utilize it to optimize space leveraging and what have you. But who pays for the integration of something as simple as parking management into an overall network or carpet of smart city capabilities? And that's the challenge today, because there are very, very few municipal environments that are stepping up to that responsibility. So there is today just a huge amount of interest in the topic, and I believe that it's been going on for the past 10 years to really look at what it takes to enable a complete smart city strategy. But there are very, very few municipalities that are facilitating or hosting the integration of that technology infrastructure or ecosystem in order to make it work. So if you look at all of the cool stuff that's going on with utilities today for energy and water management, as an example, I think I talked about one of those examples earlier. If you look at what's happening in waste management, if you look at all of the building management services solutions that are in place today, if you look at the fleet and road management solutions that are in place, and then you get into very complex things like monitoring and managing quality of air so that traffic flows can be adjusted real time, and those air quality alerts and warnings can be produced very, very effectively. How do you pull that together? Yeah, and how do you ensure that you have an integrated set of smart city capabilities that make sense for that community, right? Because each community is different. Each community has a different budget. Each community has different needs. So how do you weave together a sensible grouping of smart city capabilities that makes sense for that municipality, and finding a owner to step up to that responsibility for a municipality is a very large challenge today.
Yes, thank you, Carol. Another question, this time for Bonnie, related to digitalization. I mean, digitalization may require big investments, while horticulture farmers could be small-sized company. How does the business case look like, Bonnie? For example, in terms of payback time. As an investor, you may have the answer, right?
Good question. Well, first of all, there's a lot of consolidation going on in the industry. So growers are merging together, and in fact, we now have really big companies in the industry. Then you more than 100 hectares of a tomato grower or pepper growers is not unusual anymore, and they are also international. Another trend what we see is outside capital coming into the industry. So pension funds, venture capitalists, all interested in food production, vertical farming. So we see more and more bigger budgets to support innovation. So that's a good point. When you look at the payback, well, a greenhouse you build for 25 years, but in general, at the moment, the sensors have to become much cheaper. That is one of the objectives. When the sensor density will increase, we need to have cheaper sensors. So that's one of the objectives, to get the payback time down. But I think it will also be, digitalization will be a license to produce. Without working with data, doing more with less. Also in that area, there are not enough people anymore to grow tomatoes. And so I would say, if you want to have a figure, normally the payback time is 3 to 4 years. But in the end, it will be a license to produce, to go to digitalization.
Okay, thank you. And the last question for you, Nico. When can we expect full-scale truck platooning on the highways? Do you have the answer? I think you should unmute.
There I was. What there's going on right now is quite full-scale testing, both in Europe but also in Asia. There are in the port of Singapore, there are full-scale platooning testing going on. What we see now is that the ASEA, that's the organization of truck manufacturers, they have said that from 2025, they want full-scale testing on the public highways in Europe. So that's again a big step, the next big step. But I think it will take some more years before we can see truck platooning as a standalone facility on the highways, multi-brand, multi-truck being in full operation. So give us some more years, but in the end, it will definitely be there.
Okay, thank you. Now it's time to wrap up this session. We have heard different angles about digitalization in industries from different sectors, from Ericsson, Tata Consulting, Scania, and SenseNL. We definitely see commonalities here. Let me summarize the main takeaways. ICT is at the front line of digitalization. Digital transformation can contribute to exponential changes leading to more sustainable industries. For example, by improving energy efficiency and by using scarce resources like water in a better way. We have seen some examples today with you, Bonnie, about it, right? Digital transformation will help us to cope with challenges in smart factories, smart transport, smart cities, smart agriculture or horticulture. Businesses will continue to face transformation. Sustainability will increasingly be a driver for that. We need pioneers and front runners to lead by example and to inspire others. And we need to scale up to reach 2030 goals. So let's continue this path. Our session comes now to an end. Thank you for following it. And thanks to our speakers and the insights you shared. It was amazing. Other very interesting sessions will follow, so stay tuned. And bye for now.